Good afternoon and welcome back to Gulfstream Park. Thank you for joining us here on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon. Welcome back to Gulfstream today. I'm Gabby Gaudette, joined by Ron Nicoletti. We have 11 races on tap, and of course, what everybody's talking about, that over $4 million in the Rainbow Six.
Yeah, we mentioned the other day that it would be, if it wasn't hit, it would be over $4 million going into Wednesday. So we look like soothsayers now that we figured it out, but it wasn't very hard to do that. Should be a lot of fun today with that wager.
And, you know, looking at last week, too, in the Rainbow Six, there were a couple scary moments as some days we got to the final leg and really a couple of horses who had legitimate chances almost winning and taking it down. But if it does not get hit, of course, we will have that mandatory payout next Saturday as well. We'll take, Saturday, March 26th, to be specific. Now, we'll take a look here at today's featured wagers and our carryovers, and we'll go through this race by race on this Wednesday afternoon. The Rolling Super High 5 starts us all off in race 1, as does the early pick 5, races 1 through 5. Race 6 on today's 11 race program, the 20-cent Rainbow Six, $4 million in that carryover. And of course, as I just mentioned, we will have a mandatory payout Saturday, March 26th, if it is not hit in the meantime. And race 7 kicks off the 50-cent late pick 5 as well. And looking at some of the immediate racing cards, including today and even tomorrow, you and I were talking about very tough sequence tomorrow. At least today, a couple horses you could figure maybe being singles in the pick 6, but tomorrow it's really, really wide open.
Yeah, and as we mention all the time, is that even if you don't get that one unique ticket and you're playing the consolation 6 out of 6, even a 5 out of 6 one time last week pay very, very well. So if you don't hit the single ticket, you get enough money to go back and try and do it the next day. So it's been a fun bet, especially if you get the 6 out of 6.
And amazing that it actually did pay 5 out of 6, all considering the amount of money that's in the pools. Right. Now that we were approaching $4 million. It's always an interesting sequence to pay attention to and to bet, so we'll tackle it later. But first, the early pick 5.
Yeah, let's show you my ticket right now, and you're going to see it here. I went too deep, then 3, 3, and 3, and it seems I'm stuck on $54 in the early pick 5 each and every day. But I think got the logical horses in the first couple of races, and I went a little deeper to see if we can get this thing home today. Pay a solid price, well, hopefully way more than $54. So we'll see how that works out.
Let's hope so. And race 1, we do have early money on the 1 Aventus, even money right now, but we'll go in a different direction to the 5 Zen Sunrise here. You and I both agree on this horse, and it was misbehaving a little bit prior to the break last time out, and we'll take a look at the head-on, actually.
Yeah, we'll see the head. Well, first we're going to see the horse before going into the gate, and almost through the jock going into the gate. Once it rolls, you see just did not want to go into the gate there, and then comes out, and you'll see right here the horse just rears at the start. So I just thought of that performance. Ramon Preciado, Joshua Navarro in the saddle today. I'm going to give that horse one more chance to put a line through that last race, because he was threatening to break his maiden at the distance on both turf and dirt prior to that performance. So it's not that we're looking at him just because of the last race.
Yeah, and he actually had legitimate trouble back on the 26th of February, the race prior to that. Give to you, K-Cats. I believe it was his first ever turf try, and he really ran sharply, kind of all over the turf course, though, and was eventually disqualified in that race. But if you get off to a poor start, especially at 5 furlongs, I think that is the biggest issue of all, just not breaking well. And this horse wants to be tactically positioned. I'm hoping that he breaks well today and is a little less temperamental. So those are some ifs. So I agree with you in terms of the early pick 5. You do have to back yourself maybe with some other horses. You did use the 1 Aventus.
Yeah, this one's going to depart from the rail after stalking the pace. Get it crowded in a little bit along the turn, finishing 5th at this level in distance. Antonio Osano, Johnny Velasquez in the saddle actually went back and look. This horse wasn't that much trouble. It sort of came over on him a little bit. It was not that bad when I looked at it.
It didn't cost him the race, in your opinion, but he did chase those strong early fractions. I left him off my top couple of horses. I picked him 4th. The 2 Alsvid Foxy, I think that's how you say it. Number 2 horse for the Connections is listed as a gelding for the first time. And this horse, again, this is another one who chased those strong early fractions, 21 and 4, 45 and 2 for the half. And he was kind of caught in a tough spot chasing that early lead. Today, I'm hoping that he can get just a little bit of a stalking trip, and he's getting a considerable class relief. He's never faced maiden claimers before.
Yeah, and he's a nice price on the board. I just threw in another horse in the Diamond Lords, the son of Luck. You Lucky Man, debuting for Henry Lewinsky. What I liked about this, Stringer really solid works at Classic Mile Park. So if you're looking for a little bit of a long shot in the open, maybe you throw that one on your exacta trifecta ticket.
The 8, Mr. Smith, one other one I'll throw in. First time on the turf for Eddie Please It by High Cotton out of a Precious Lady who actually ran 9 times at 5 furlongs on the turf. She was a turf sprinter. She had 5 seconds. So even though she didn't find the winner's circle, she actually ran some legitimate races on the turf. And I kind of like the pedigree to maybe make a lateral move now getting to the turf for the first time. We'll move on to the second race, though, and we had 2 scratches in the 6-horse field. So no show, no try, no super high five, of course, no super vector wagering as well. This 30,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime race at 6 furlongs, and we do have a replay really honing in on the 2 to the victor. This is another one. We've seen a couple horses actually just not get off to a great start. I keep pulling all of these replays exiting the gate. You can see to the victor and the 5, or the 6, excuse me, Better Run Real Fast. To the victor actually stumbled pretty badly leaving the gate. Better Run Real Fast got off to a slow start as well. I thought it was more of a problem to the victor, and despite that poor break, he regathered himself and he actually ran a very sharp race. So that's the direction I go in.
Yeah, I mean, I have him on the ticket too for all the reasons you mentioned. Better Run Fast has been threatening notch this condition in 3 consecutive races. Just needs that honest pace up front with the scratches today. Might not get that, so I use Better Run Fast. I'm going to get, well, the exacta box is still available in there, so maybe I'll go that way.
And Better Run Real Fast, I thought if he got off to a little bit of a cleaner start last time out, we would have seen him more forwardly placed. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're aggressive with this horse and he actually even makes the lead. Again, with some of the scratchers, like you said, really anything can happen in these small fields.
Change the whole race shape around, so you just sort of have to see how it plays out.
All right, race 3 on the card, a 16,000 non-winners of 3 lifetime claiming event, 7.5 furlongs onto the turf course. And with taking a look at this race, we do have a couple of horses off the claim, and you have to go in several different directions. But 5-2 on the morning line is the one breezy my way, first off the claim for Ramon Preciado.
Yeah, this one, as you mentioned, went to his Bon Vita claim, stretching out the 7.5 furlongs. He broke from the rail last time, steadied just briefly at the 5/16 pole. He finished third, going 5 furlongs. He looks like the inside speed to me when stretching out today around 2 turns, and that's why I went there. I just thought he would be the inside gas in that race, and thought maybe he could steal the turf course, as we mentioned over the last couple of weeks. Really been good for horses that are on or near the lead.
Yeah, he's not slow at all, and I agree. Looking at the replay, he did steady at the 5/16 pole. I didn't think that, still with that a little bit of trouble, I didn't think it cost him the race. No. He was just kind of plodding home from there. But this is a different distance, and today he does draw that rail. So as you said, he could use his speed to his advantage down there. For what it's worth, though, first off the claim for the new connections on the turf specifically, we'll show a stat, just 1 for 18, so 6%. They do finish in the money quite significantly, but a 16-cent ROI. Again, first off the claim on the turf. I think I ran a stat for the barn with their dirt runners off the claim, and the stats are fantastic, probably in the 30 to 40%. But turf is kind of a different story.
I like doing this to my own picks.
No, you just have to, you have to protect yourself.
No, it's good to know that. It's a very good angle.
And we also have the 8 Clear Status in here, who will actually show a stat, 7-2 on the morning line. These are shorter priced horses that you just have to be cognizant of some of these stats. Dirt to turf after winning their last start, 1 for 23, 4% negative ROI for the Mike Trombetta barn. They do well. These 2 trainers do well with other things, but this isn't the strongest angle. So how do you read in between the lines? The 2 film shot, you respect this horse, and these you get stronger statistics for the barn. I like the fact that Julian Leperoux stays back aboard, and I like the fact that he stretches back out to 2 turns on the turf.
Yeah, he's stretching out around 2 turns after failing to show any speed when facing similar, going 5 furlongs. That was back on January 31st. You mentioned he should be closer to the pace this afternoon. Distorted Humor is Desire, and you mentioned really riding well on the turf, Julian puddle.
And that was the first off the layoff since late October
Right.
too. So now he'll be making his third start off the cycle, and now he's getting at a distance, perhaps to a more preferred distance, and maybe that's the one that you cover yourself with.
Right.
We'll move on to the fourth race, a nice maiden special weight 5 furlongs on the turf course. And we do have the 6 GPS, a very clever name out of Navigator, excuse me, and by Candy Ride there. I love that name. I think that's so clever. But anyway, this is a horse that is the horse to beat, of course, staying at the 5 furlongs today, but you have at least a little bit of solid ground to work off of.
Right, yeah, you should be ready to exit the maiden ranks after returning from the freshening, turning back to 5 furlongs, and finished a good third, beating 1 3/4 lengths in there. And I just thought off that performance was the logical choice. You did go to the inside, but with the number 1 horse, and your horse I did not use.
I'm taking a shot with this horse, and again, you don't have a lot of solid ground to run to stand on, but was a decently priced purchase there, $180,000 by Northern at Fleet out of Miss Shipley, who she actually never produced a turf winner, so still we're kind of grasping at straws. But the barn is always sneaky good, especially I know with their first starters, it's kind of lower statistics, but I wouldn't put this horse out because he obviously has been clocking some pretty decent workouts. One nice turf workout recently at Palmettos, and it attracts the likes of Johnny Velasquez, which I thought was very, very sneaky.
Yeah, just playing devil's advocate a little bit. It's tough with first-time starters on the rail, but the horse I did not use. But certainly with those connections, you have to go back and look. We did both use the 7 Trouble in Phoenix. It was an Ontario-bred son of Victor's Cry. That's by Street Cry, debuting for Brian Lynch. Really nice workouts at Palmettos on turf and dirt. Julian Leperoux, who we just mentioned, will be in the saddle with that horse.
And the mare was winless in 4 starts, but she did never try the turf. This horse does get Lasix for the debut over the past 5 years, though I didn't show this statistic, but with turf sprinters making a debut performance for the barn, only 3 for 31. But Brian Lynch has had a fantastic meet here in South Florida, and again, you're looking at the rest of the field,
right,
and you have to look at the sharper trainers, and of course, Brian Lynch is very, very sharp so far.
Yeah.
So that is race 4 there. We'll move on to the final leg of the early picked 5, a nice maiden special weight 7 furlongs onto the main track, and the 7 Miles of Humor. We'll take a look at on the 16th of January in this race going the 7 furlongs, where this horse did not get off to the greatest of starts. We're showing a lot of gate replays
Yeah, well, this
today.
one gets it's the old sandwich play here. Boing, boing.
Boing, boing, boing.
And then,
the old sandwich play. He's hit from both sides and then just never really recovers there. Not to mention that was a key race of the meet. Bolt Hall came back to run on the turf for whatever reason. We saw Kelly Tuff came back to win Star Hill, third in the Tampa Bay Derby as well. So you'd have to think, and all considering, this horse didn't pack it in. He was running well, good late energy throughout the stretch. He looks like he's going to be very tough.
And trained by Ralph Nixon and ridden today by John Velasquez. So Miles of Humor off that troubled beginning there. I had it on top, and so did you.
And the 5 Eternal Bird, now second time out of the Nick Zito barn, and just unfortunately caught an absolute bear and take it to the edge. A first-time starter for Dale Romans, who got an 88 Beyer speed figure for that debut performance, drew away from the field by almost 15 lengths. I mean, that was one of the sharpest ones we've seen.
Yeah, and you expect the Eternal Bird to expect it to show more today after returning. That was an almost 7-month layoff. He went up, as you mentioned, he chased, he finished 4th at this level of distance. Javier Castellano to ride for trainer Nick Zito.
Looks like we also agree on the 6 Blind Ruckus, who stays at the 7 furlong distance. But, he did drop down to facing a little bit lesser of a class last time in restricted Florida Bred Maiden Special Weight Company, and still couldn't deliver. Yes, he did get into a little bit of trouble at the 3/16 pole, but I don't think, again, it wasn't enough trouble, significant enough to really cost him the race. And I primarily think that there's other horses coming out of tougher races, but maybe the experience will help him.
And he saved all the ground in that last race. He was on the inside there, and I just put him in 3rd. I just think he's, off that performance, he deserves a spot on my ticket.
All right, well, that's races 1 through 5. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the Rainbow 6. It's over $4 million.
4?
4.
Wow.
Did I say it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll get to it right after
I
this.
wanted to accentuate it.
We'll get to it right after this commercial break. Welcome back to Gulfstream today. As we just mentioned, $4 million there in the Rainbow 6 carryover. And I did come up with a single today, so that's good news. So we can maybe work around that today. We do have a 4 to 5 favorite in the sequence, and I think this horse is definitely the one to beat. We'll show my ticket here now, and it's $64.80 using 3 horses in the first 2 legs of the sequence, keying off of Thatcher Street there in race 8, the number 2 horse, giving me the ability to really spread with a couple different horses in race 10, and then of course using 3 horses in both races 9 and 11. So we'll start it off with race 6, and again using 3 horses in here. Your favorite on the morning line, the 1 Ladies Lunar Luck, hoping to make it back-to-back victories on form. And we'll see this last replay on the 6th of March. We'll watch from the quarter pole down to the finish line, and Ladies Lunar Luck is just pressing the 1 horse the entire way. Summertime Music, who's actually once again entered in this race. But really pay attention to Great Cross, and you can't really see it here, but she does get into a little bit of a trouble at number 8. She was pretty far back, and she just doesn't really have a lot of ability to run, but I thought that she showed a little bit of late energy there as well. Now, the thing about Ladies Lunar Luck, I prefer the 2 Great Cross and second time out of the Peter Waldo Barn. I know Javier Castellano leaves this mount and goes to Ladies Lunar Luck, but she's one that she's disappointed me in the past when you have to give her a little bit too much to do. Last time out, she got a beautiful trip under Luis Saez, who stalked the pace, who then faded, and she inherited the lead, and she's a better horse on the lead. Is that going to be the strategy today, though?
Yeah, and you're ridden today by Eric Cancel, at least scheduled to ride. Coming down from New York, he was in a battle with Tyler Gaffleon for leading apprentice this past year, so you get a good horse. I did go with the 1 Ladies Lunar Luck, and I used the 5 Rose Gracielle in second, try to close the gap today on Ladies Lunar Luck. Angling out at the quarter pole, finished 3rd behind her. You saw it in that race last time out. Marcus Vitale claimed her 2 starts back. Nick Juarez handling the rematch. I threw this one on the ticket too.
It is kind of a tricky race, and the 4 Vipera I see you threw in, and she's capable of good races and then capable of bad races. I actually went to another horse that with a little bit of a bigger price, Rejoiceful, who's actually beaten her in the past. I don't know where that race came from last time out. It was bad.
Yeah.
It really, really was bad, and it's kind of makes me proceed with caution a bit because it was first off the claim. You have to wonder what direction this horse is going in, but that seemed to be a pretty tough race off the claim. We saw Skokie come back to win. I know she was disqualified in that race, but she came back to win on Sunday.
Right.
And I'm just hoping that she's a little bit better than what she showed last time out. Again, the 7 Rejoiceful.
Yeah, Rejoiceful certainly can bounce back off that. Vipera you mentioned. What I used this horse for, just real quickly, seems to run better in the second start back from a layup. So I was trying to find a little bit of angle there, and I was afraid of it. Jane Sibeli, Paco Lopez rode to victory during December. Just a horse that I had some interest in that I was going to throw in the ticket because I didn't want to get beat by that one.
I know. Well, it's usually the case there, because that's why Jane Sibeli has a positive ROI, because the horse can run poorly and they come back and they win. So it may be a good approach by you, but I just used 3 horses in the first leg of the sequence. We'll move on to race 7, and that does kick off the 50-cent late pick 5. This maiden claimer, 6 furlongs on the main track. How many horses did you use to kick off the sequence?
Well, we got 3 in here because we found a single in the second leg, and it's the same single you had in the Rainbow 6. So we're going to carry both of us. I went 1, 2, and 6 in here, and my top selection in here, of course, was the 2 Out Zap. And then you see I'm singling the same horse you did in race number 8. Then I go 3 deep, 3 deep, and 4 in the final leg. That's Thatcher Street in race number 8.
And I know you wanted to show the quick replay of the going back to the 11th of February, where this horse is another one who didn't get off to a good start.
That's our theme today.
Yeah.
We'll see it right here. This is Out Zap, and this one really goes down to her, just about to her knees. You'll see it when it starts. Just, goes down, gets bopped around a little bit in there. It's the daughter of Adios Charlie.
And not to mention from there, drawing the rail post position, perhaps the rail just wasn't really the place to be that day. We saw kind of between the second week of February to probably that week
Right.
around the 11th, the 13th, the 14th, just not really the place to be. So that was another maybe Achilles heels for her. But the one thing that scared me was even her debut performance. Yes, I know it was against Tougher back in December, but is she that? Was the break that much of a problem, and can she deliver? Obviously, they're kind of giving up on her now, dropping her in for the 35
Right,
after that trouble.
and they're taking the blinkers off. But this one, after that stumbling, we didn't show you, that went up and dueled for the lead in that race. And I just thought, because you mentioned maybe a little deeper on the inside, that particular day I think was costed. But you're right, dropping down. Of course, there's a red flag action going on there.
The 6 Scarlet Goddess, though, is another one who has been, exposed at this level. Is she one that will find another horse to beat her once again? She did get Lasix for the first time last time out, but she was the beaten favorite.
Yeah, I mean, I got her on a ticket, and I mentioned maybe the tote drop back just a little bit to the $35,000 level can be a winning move for her today.
We'll see a statistic for the barn going to the 1 Bermuda Longtail. This was a statistic that I was talking about, actually. First off, the claim for Ramon Preciado on the dirt with sprinters and maiden claimers. It's a winning statistic. It's a winning angle for the barn. 34%, 60% in the money, positive ROI of $2.24. Not to mention, this filly, she didn't get off to a good start there back on the 6th of February, where she faced upper level maiden claimers. Today, she gets Lasix for the first time. They move her up from the $25,000 tag last time out. I think there's a lot of things to like about her if you don't really trust your 2 favorites in here.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, good stat first off the claim. So a horse there from Ramon Preciado that I did not leave off my ticket. I did use it on there. So we're basically in agreement. Just flip-flop our selections around.
Well, this is where the key of the day comes in. The 2 Thatcher Street in race 8, a nice allowance. Never won 3, a lifetime going to the mile on the turf course. And Thatcher Street, I thought, ran, especially the most 2 recent performances. I know in the River City Handicap it was back in at Churchill back in November, but heart to heart, that's a horse that's just been on a win streak, just going to the lead and never looking back, and it's been hard to catch a horse like that. Not to mention last time out off the layoff, this horse, that was a paceless race. If you remember handicapping that race,
right,
all of the potential speed scratched out of there. Go around, went straight to the lead, never looked back. So this horse was kind of up against it from a perspective of the flow of the race.
And, he's great 3 stakes place. And if you look at the conditions of this race, this is an allowance, 4-year-olds and up, but it's only non-winners of 3 races in life. This is a stakes-placed horse that fits the conditions absolutely perfectly today.
And he should be very tough in there. That's why you and I both make him our single. But beyond him, the 5 Western Reserve is a horse you and I both use. Faced a very tough field last time out, and Not a Cat But a Llama, Conquest Typhoon. Not to mention that was a very slow early pace that Not a Cat But a Llama got away with, and horses didn't really pick up their feet behind him. This horse has taken odd money in both of his past 2 starts, especially his start on the dirt. I don't know if you remember that, but opened up at a very short price, went off as the favorite, and this horse clearly has the pedigree to perhaps be a better turf runner.
Yeah, and I used that angle there, looking that he ran against multiple stakes winner Conquest Typhoon. It's Bill Mott, Jose Lezcano atop. It's really an impeccably bred son of Indian Charlie. Bred for the grass up and down, so I put it on my ticket for those reasons.
I threw in the 1 Friends with K Mill. We'll have to really step it up to face this company here today. Just face that $30,000 tag, but the connections are sharp. Bruno Tesori, we saw win a race last week, and he's not very fast, but he has that nice slow grinding run, now drawn a good post position. I liked him last time, so I'll stick with him here today, but he is facing, like you said, graded stakes place quality horses. Right. Race 9 on the card, 5.5 furlongs onto the main track, open 6,250 claimer, and the 2 Grand Bamboo is one for George Navarro. We haven't seen this horse since April, but we've seen it time and time again. Doesn't really seem to be a problem.
Well, it's cutting back to 5.5 furlongs, 8 previous races at the distance, 2 wins, the second 3/3. Opened that quick 3.5 length lead when drifting out at the 8 pole. Got nailed at the wire by Simbler going 3/4 of a mile. George Navarro Got 10-pound apprentice Carlos Hernandez. All systems are go for this horse to go to the lead and see if he can hold on.
And we saw that prove to be very successful last week. A horse was coming in off of a pretty hefty layoff, and with Carlos Hernandez, they went to the lead from that rail post position, and it was all said and done from there. So again, sometimes it's tough to beat the connections on that purpose alone, but if you want to back yourself up, which I did, by no means would I single this horse in the Rainbow Six. The one Pachanga Party, I think, will be tactically positioned to the inside, and perhaps Graham Bamboo could be pressured a little bit here today. If he's not, again, it's going to be tough to beat him, but he should sit that nice stalking trip just inside.
Never been beaten at 5.5 furlongs, 2 races, 2 wins, and the recent half-mile gate work in a swift. 46-3 is a positive sign for this horse, so did not single this horse, of course, and I closed it out with the 5. Rocky's Home Run is hoping to find a little more for the stretch drive, shipping it from Tampa. Run third at this level in distance. I'm more interested in those top 2 myself.
Okay, race 10 on the card, a very nice allowance, optional claiming event, a mile onto the turf course. And I had a tough time with this race. That's why I used 4 horses in the Rainbow Six, because it's hard to leave out several different horses. I guess we'll start off with the 10 Castor, a horse that you and I both use, now finally getting to a firmer going. And she could potentially move up on a firmer turf. She could make a lateral move, or she could decline. But that was a very sharp race from her last time out.
Yeah, I mean, she ran very well. She came within 3/4 of length of defeating this caliber competition, going 7.5 furlongs. That was on a good turf course. Trainer Todd Pletcher, John Velasquez, returning on this daughter of Malibu Moon. John Velasquez, just reading through our analysis, is going to have a huge day, or we're going to have a bad day there.
Yeah.
Seems to be on a lot of live horses today. And I just thought, on paper, this was a logical one, but I agree 100%. You have to go deep here if you can.
Yes, and Castor, again, she doesn't have a tremendous amount of early speed, but Johnny Velasquez has done a great job in positioning her really at the top of the stretch to make her competitive, and she should be able to get a decent amount of pace in here today, but by no means is she the only horse in the race. The 4 Winged Fury last time out on a good going did rally way from off the pace and drew clear from the rest of the field. Now she has to face winners for the first time, and is the turf as conducive to her running style as it was last time out?
Well, you wouldn't think so, because it doesn't seem to be playing that way. The other horse we both used was Anti-Joy, making her first start since tracking the pace. She got checked back at the 8-pole, faded in that race. She finished 10th behind Lyra. And next out, the grade 3 Swedish Champ winner in there, Price to Perfection. That was in the 7.5 furlong Ginger Brew. So it's a really good race coming out of, and I think she's a major player with a clean trip.
Even re-handicapping this race, I think I would have even chosen her over my top selection, because her trouble was significant last time out. She went to go make a move. It got a little bit of it got a little tight there, and I don't know. She didn't necessarily check, but Julian almost just kind of protected her and just kind of sat on her for the rest of the stretch and never really asked her to run on. So I do think that there's the potential for her to really move up and be competitive against this level. I also threw in the 2 West LA Girl, who has to improve off of restricted Ontario bred maiden special weights, but some of the workouts have been pretty sharp there. I don't know. There were tons of different ways to go, and I landed on 4 in the Rainbow Six.
I had her written down as my long shot in there, but did not use that one as my long shot, but I was thinking like you that you might want to put this horse on the ticket.
All right, race 11, the final race of this afternoon, $30,000 non-winners of 2 lifetime events, 7.5 furlongs onto the turf course, and you land on the 1 Via, first off the claim for Peter Walder.
Yeah, moving to the Peter Walder barn after breaking from the rail, going up, vying for the lead, finishing 3rd against Simler, going a mile in the 16th. Turn back to 7.5 furlongs is why I went there.
And she should be competitive towards, or he should be the competitive towards that inside post. The 0 for 8 record at the distance is one thing that swayed me away from him. And plus, we have said this first off, the claim for Peter Walder with turf horses isn't really the strongest angle, but he won with Quiet Force, a claim off of Mike Maker the other day. So a horse to maybe use, but the 3 Lone Trader is who I opt for, because that was slow early fractions last time out, coming in off the freshening since late December, and Natural Order obviously was the eventual winner of that race, but it just looked like a couple horses had a tough time closing into that slow pace, and I thought that he might have been in one of them. Today, we could see a potential for a little bit quicker of a pace. Talking about the pace, the 5 Battle Red should be forwardly placed in here. Completely ignore his race on the 17th of February. He didn't get off to a great start. This horse likes to be close to the lead.
Yeah, he's going to be on the lead. I see a lot of pacing here, and I like your selection. That's why I used the number 3 Lone Trader on my ticket. I think this horse, if things work out fine, could certainly fit a good trip.
All right, I used 3 horses in the final leg of the sequence, the 3, 5, and the 10, who gets back to the turf for trainer Brendan Walsh, who didn't run that bad of a race actually at Keeneland in his debut. Is against much tougher company as well. So plenty of
my long shot today. Blade Runner.
That is
my long shot.
Okay, well maybe, did you use it in the pick 5?
Yes, I did use it in the pick 5.
Okay, well maybe we can bring home a long shot in the final race. You love using those long shots in the final leg.
I do.
Right?
I do. Yeah, well, I got to get them to win. They've been finishing second lately.
Well, Larry Colmus is making fun of us, and I think I'm losing my voice, so we're going to take a quick break, and he'll be up here with scratches and changes. We'll be back for races 1 through 11, $4 million in the Rainbow Six, so get to handicapping. We'll be back in a bit.
Our day begins early, preparing for the task ahead, focused on a single goal. Then it's showtime, ready to face another challenge. And while victory may be uncertain, you can always bet on us to be at our very best.